I've been plugging it on LinkedIn. I noticed you only had 4 likes. I need to expand your coverage.
Yeah, on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
yes. We are new to LinkedIn. We are
Right.
kind of more. We've been older on Instagram, so the more people following.
More people look at you on
activities.
Instagram. Right. Yeah.
New to
Okay.
LinkedIn, so
Yeah. LinkedIn is us oldies.
true.
Yeah.
Instagram is basically managed by all the younger people at the center.
Okay. Oh, cool. Very nice. So you're starting soon, right?
Right.
On this,
We just have to wait for Alpita. No, Alpita is not joined in.
Right.
Yeah, Alpita will be joining.
I think let's wait for a minute or so. I had a word with her, so
okay.
Joining. So we'll wait for a minute or so, and then I can start with the introduction because Anupam is joining at 6:30, right?
Yes.
And he also has a flight to catch after, so he'll
have to give time. Yeah.
Hi, Varsh.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you, Ron.
Yeah. I nearly missed it, but I put a reminder on my phone. I hear Jai got onto the flight, so I was messaging with him.
Yeah, they're recording this. Yes, he got on.
Okay, I'm going mute.
Thank you.
So I think let's start. Ashna, if you can just message Alpita that we are starting, and she can just join in at any time.
Sure.
Okay. So thank you all, and thank you all for joining. It's a Friday evening, and I'm sure in India, in the US, some of you are joining from the US, and it must be early morning. But for us, it's Friday evening, and many of our students who've joined here possibly have some plans. But thank you very much for joining in. We had a fantastic morning, and Ashna will talk a little bit more about that. Today, we started our collaboration and our endeavor at Kalidas House. Kalidas House, the family members of Kalidas House, one of them, Meeta Patel, she's here with us, and she has been she's been the backbone support for taking this further. So Ashna, of course, will be talking about the detail of this. I will very briefly speak about the the overall initiative that we are taking up. Some of our students who are here are already part of this initiative by the way of research and academic studies that they've conducted there. And we hope to take that further. This initiative is called, we're calling it Dharmaj Heritage Collaborative. It is an initiative that is in collaboration between Center for Heritage and Conservation, CEPT Research and Development Foundation from Ahmedabad, and Avichal Heritage Foundation that is headed by Alpita Patel. The initiative kind of started with, of course, there's a lot of work that Alpita has already done around her own house before we started this initiative. And she thought that, she approached us saying that we could do more. We could possibly inform about these initiatives and possibility of conserving heritage to a larger community in Dharmaj and maybe in Charotar. Alpita is here. Alpita, I've just introduced you to everyone here. And so that's how we signed an MOU, and we decided we were going to start off with 4 different things. The first thing was to kind of do a digital map of the heritage at Dharmaj, which we are in process. We've collected some information through students' research. Next semester, there's going to be a new bunch of students who are going to come in, and they'll collect some more information, some more research. And when we have all this information vetted on ground, after which we will, and possibly also simultaneously, we'll start creating a digital map that is interactive, considering that a lot of Dharmaj diaspora lives outside the country, possibly in different cities of India as well. The digital map would be a good initiative for them to connect with what's going on in Dharmaj. The second initiative was the site school initiative, where we had invited homeowners in Dharmaj to let us allow us to adopt their houses for 2 or 3 years. In the process, we will be conducting educational initiatives. As a part of that educational initiative, we will also be restoring the buildings, whatever is restorable. If there are new things to be done in collaboration with the owners, in consultation with the owners, we will be kind of transforming these buildings with the hope that these structures become pilot studies for the entire town, and there are more people inspired to conserve the heritage rather than bring it down and in order to make new buildings. And of course, today was the first open house for Kalidas House, and Mita Patel has been the anchor in that, as I said, and the family is also supporting financially all the work that we're doing there. So that is with the other house that we've signed an MOU is the Mukhi House, and we are hoping that we will soon receive some funds for there as well, and we'll be able to start our work there as well. The third initiative is with the library, where we are looking for funds. Dharmaj Library has some fantastic collection of literature from the early 20th century. There are some fiction books that are written in Gujarati that are rare, and that was a time when Gujarat was going through a progressive movement where women's education and library is one of the initiatives that is related to education that was started in Dharmaj. So there were many of these progressive initiatives that were going on, and there's a lot of literature available in Dharmaj Library on that, from that era. There are a lot of records of local time or local areas that are also available from that time. So we are hoping to digitize all of that. We've had in principle support from the Keravani Mandal. And today, in fact, in the open house, we also received the head of the Keravani Mandal. He came to the open house. He was very excited to see what we're doing. And he said he'll further extend the support and let's do something about digitizing. So this work has also given that push to that initiative. And the fourth initiative that we are doing is eventually with these experiences, we hope to prepare an owner's guide for conservation, where owners of buildings, wooden buildings or buildings that are made of traditional materials can figure out what to do with their houses. Because what we've realized is that many times these houses are left to decay simply because the owners don't know what to do. And many of us, before we got into this profession, didn't know what to do with our own houses that are built of traditional materials. I was just telling somebody today that I come from a small town in Surat, and my ancestral house was a wooden house. And when I was young, my family had to let go of that house because none of us knew what to do with it. So it's not a matter as much of intention as it is of kind of lack of a pathway. And we just hope that these initiatives and that guidance provides that pathway. And I think I'll not take more of your time from there. I will hand it over to Ashna. After Ashna presents the specific initiative of Kalidas House, the site school at Kalidas House, we will have a recording of Dr. Anupam Sah's lecture on, it's a short lecture on how to preserve family heritage. And I think it's very important because most of the people in Dharmaj are looking at family heritage. Anupam Sa is the head of art conservation research and training at CSMBS. He is a fantastic, prolific personality who works with different networks and cycles of heritage, and how objects and family heritage links to buildings, and how it links to society, and how it links to policies are the things that he's been working with. And he teaches conservation in many places in Mumbai, and he brings in a lot of his understanding to his education and practice. So without further ado, Ashna, over to you. We look forward to your presentation on plans for Kalidas House.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll share the screen. So I'm just going to quickly reiterate the premise of the Conservation Site School. Conservation Site School is an initiative which is based on the premise that many heritage sites that are highly valuable for the historic importance are neglected due to the lack of active use, lack of funds, lack of resources, and so on. And due to this, they become they get dilapidated, and they demand conservation efforts and conservation intervention. And we strongly believe that it's the imperative of the citizens, or the imperative of conserving such sites and structures is with the citizens of a place, or the people of the place. And these sites are a great repository of historic knowledge and present an opportunity for conservation training and knowledge sharing. So as it has already been said, CHC has adopted Kalidas Jethabhai House as its first conservation site school in Dharmaj. And CHC and Avichal Heritage Foundation have entered into an MOU with the heirs of the property in order to carry out this initiative. The site is located within the historic core of Dharmaj. So these are some photographs of the site, and this is the location. So this is the historic core of Dharmaj, and this is where the site is located. It's a two-storied structure, as you can see, and it's separated by a central courtyard here. So basically the building has two wings. You can clearly see the front wing here and the back wing here. Over the years, the structure has undergone, as you can see, considerable damage due to weather conditions, extreme weather conditions, lack of active use, and so on. From the visual assessment that we did, we found out that the front wing of the building, it's sort of leaning towards the roadside, but it is still in a good condition. It's in a condition where it can be conserved and brought back or restored to its former glory up to a certain extent. On the other hand, the back wing, as you can see, is highly damaged. And through the preliminary visual assessment we did, we concluded that some parts of it might need to be carefully dismantled while keeping its elements and material, most of the material safely stored, salvaging most of the material and reusing it in order to rebuild parts of the wings at a later stage. So here are some more photographs. And in this image, you can actually see the front wing leaning towards the road. This is mainly because of the settling of the building from the brackets. The brackets are sort of settling, and that's how through multiple site visits by the CHC team and in consultation with the structural experts that we have on the team, we arrived at the safeguarding requirements for the site. And this happened this week. So we started safeguarding the site on Monday, on 13th of December. And these are primarily the 3 stages that in which the safeguarding was done. So the first, as I said, the brackets were leaning forward, leaning downwards. So we jacked up the brackets, they were propped up, and all of the brackets were propped up, and then they were braced. We've also propped up the internal beams to prevent them from sagging and to support them in order to make the site safer for access. The third step that we took was shoring of the side wall. So this wall also, as you can see, has visible structural cracks. So in order to support that, because we don't want, when you are supporting the front part and the internal part of the building, we don't want the load to then shift onto the side wall, and we don't want it to fall or lean this side. So that's how the entire structure is now safeguarded for us to be able to access it safely and to be able to hold workshops and training and also explore the site further. These are some images from the open house. I'm sure those of you looking at the CHC Instagram account have seen other stories as well. And we'll be soon be sharing more photographs. So this is how we've done a very small display explaining the existing condition of the site and how we've gone about safeguarding it. As you can see, we've cordoned off certain areas of the site. This is the back wing, by the way. So we've barricaded it in order to, keep it prevent any sort of accidents that might happen. So we've made certain parts of the site building structure inaccessible. So we had students from APID Vidyanagar visit the site today, along with one of the heads of the Kelavani Mandar, as Dr. Jigna Desai said. We also had certain faculty members from universities in the Charota region visit us, and they were all very positive about the initiative and look forward to collaborating with us through workshops and other academic activities that we take up on the site. So this is a broad timeline of the project, and you can see how how the tasks have gradually progressed over the last 6 months. So June the Dharmaj Heritage Collaborative was launched in June. And that is when we got in touch with Meeta and her family and started talking about how we can take this project forward, how collaboration can be taken forward. And over the next few months, as I said, we did multiple site visits, assessed the structure, arrived at a safeguarding strategy. Meanwhile, we were also taking care of the contracts, service contracts, procuring the material, signing the MOU, and so on. And by November end, we were ready to start the safeguarding work. So December, we've not just planned the safeguarding of the site, but that's now done. But we are now, from next week onwards, we are going to have a workshop on digital documentation. It's part of the CEPT, it's offered as part of the CEPT Winter School program. And the course is called Heritage and Digital Methods of Documentation. It's going to be conducted by one of the members of the CHC team, Mrudula Mane, along with Maniara Sanar, who is an expert in digital documentation methods of heritage sites. Along with that, we've also started planning for Dharmaj Day. So Dharmaj Day happens on the 12th of January every year. And this is when most of the natives of Dharmaj or NRI diaspora, everyone comes together, visits it. Usually they visit India at that time, and that's when everyone is together. So we are looking at that day as an opportunity to spread this idea further, spread our outreach, and talk more about what we are going to do. We are also hoping to have an exhibition of the digital documentation work that will be done by that time. And also, if the dismantling has started, we'll also be displaying certain elements, certain material of the building. February onwards, we are planning a series of academic activities, training workshops, etc. The next step is now to have a workshop on non-destructive tests for material, because we really need to know, the nature of the building now, nature of the building material, strength, and the composition of it, and so on. So that's our next step. Along with that, we are also in the process of offering certain studios with this site as one of the exercises. This is how you can contribute to this initiative. So although this initiative is mostly funded by the owners, we also welcome you to donate or pledge your donation to the initiative, to Dharmaj Heritage Collaborative. And if you want to get involved, if you are from Dharmaj, you can nominate a building there, share your personal archives, or give permission for access to study more such sites like Meeta has done. And you can also volunteer with us. So you'll have to write to us for that. You can write to CHC or Avichal and help us spread the word. I think this is really important because we were just actually talking, we're doing these activities and it's really nice to see people come and actually, spread the words, not just among their circles, but, also, just put the word out there. So yeah, this is what, just a request from our side to, you can help us spread the word about this initiative and the other projects that we do in Dharmaj as part of Dharmaj Heritage Collaborative as well. Thank you. Stop sharing.
Thanks, Ashna. Should we start Anupam's video here on?
Yes, I'll share this.
Yes. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anupam Song, and we are going to be talking about today on the simple steps in which we can take care of our objects. We have about 10 to 12 minutes, and we're going to pick up some of the art objects that make up collections in India, mainly terracotta, stone, miniature paintings, oil paintings, textiles, paintings on cloth, metals, wooden objects, paintings on paper, including contemporary art, of course. And we're going to give you little takeaways, one takeaway per object for today. Right on. The first thing that we have here is the fact is that we are all aware of how our artworks at home and in our galleries and in our collections get damaged because of the different types of climate and other issues in India. So you have fungus growing on the paintings, you have wood that cracks up and paint flakes off it, and in metals you have the corrosion that happens, you have the green powder that develops on copper objects, you have the blues developing on other materials, you have rust developing on iron, your oil paintings start flaking, your pitchways get abraded and scratched, and your works generally sometimes warp and fade away. So the way to look after these objects is once they get damaged, you have to take them to be treated to a conservator. But why go to a conservator at all when we can do a simple preventive conservation of these objects? Preventive conservation is any action, can be direct or indirect. It can be on a healthy object or a damaged object or a collection of objects. And it is aimed at preventing future risks of deterioration. So if we take up terracotta, and you have ceramics, and you have glass at home. You're going on a posting. So the one single way in which you can prevent them from getting damaged and broken is when you put them together, make sure you cushion them so they do not move. You can cushion them with pieces of paper, soft paper, cloth. The trick is they should not move. And one material that is now available also in India for wrapping very, very important artworks is called Tyvek. It is a non-woven fabric, Tyvek. Yes, that's right. And that is used. It is an inert material. It is also acceptable as a museum standard material. So if you have an exhibition that is going abroad, this is accepted material with which you can wrap your objects with. That's the takeaway for terracotta for today. For stone sculptures, we have often seen that people tend to wash stone sculptures as if nothing happens to stone. But please remember, stones, like many of us who seem very hard and knitted, as they say, even they are sometimes very soft and can get eroded easily. And stones too have that property. So especially with water, it tends to wash away everything. It washes away the cement that binds the particles of stone, and slowly you will find that the stone not only gets smoothened, but holes start developing on them. So be very careful with stone sculptures. Wipe them with a moist cloth. Brush them and wipe them. Wood. Wood is a material which breathes, it expands, it contracts. And especially if it is painted wood, then you find a lot of cracks developing, but that is also natural, so not to worry too much about it. The one thing to be careful about is if you have a house which has some wooden architectural elements outside, we must remember that we often paint them up. And surprisingly, this is what degrades the wooden beams and elements, because the moisture that is stuck inside the wood starts collecting fungus and it starts rotting inside. And you don't see it from outside because it is all covered with this beautiful coat of paint. Be very careful. And inside the house, if you have an air conditioner, often when the air conditioners are switched on and off, you must remember that the wooden objects, anything of wood, expands and contracts, just like we see the doors in the monsoons at home. They expand and they contract. So try to keep wooden objects in areas where there's not too much of switching on and off of air conditioners. And even otherwise, it is good sense, and it also saves electricity, that we must keep objects in air-conditioned temperatures which are around 23, 24 degrees and not 18 degrees. Because then when you switch off the air conditioner at 18 degrees, everything in your house and room gets damp and moist. Also, almost as if you've taken a bottle of water out of the fridge. And brush wood once a month. Remove the dust from it. Dust is the source of all problems. Metals, like many of us, metals don't like being together all the time. Keep the metal objects wrapped separately. One tip for copper objects or bronze objects or brass objects is keep them in dry rooms. Otherwise, they tend to start deteriorating and green layers form on them. The only green layer that you have to be careful about are green spots. They are fluffy and bluish green, tantalizingly beautiful, but that is copper disease and it destroys your bronze objects. Silver, all your silver jewelry, trinkets, do not keep them with your shawls and woolens, because that is how they turn black, because sulfur is released by the shawls and the woolen artifacts and objects that you have in the house. Gold, keep your gold, each piece separately or in a soft cotton cloth. One thing you can do with your jewelry is pouch them. Keep them in Ziplocs so that the atmosphere with all its pollutants does not touch it and tarnish the surface. Jewelry, they always go with the beautiful fabrics. And one trick for them is when you keep them folded in your cupboards or in your storage areas in the galleries or the museums, make sure, see the picture on top, the fold is very, very accentuated, and that is where the textile will degrade and get damaged, especially zari, if it has zari on it. Better to keep a pouch of something which is soft, could be a cloth rolled, could be a stocking filled with the polyfiber that you find in the pillows at home. And you see, that sharp edge has been mollified into a soft curve, and the crease will never form and your fiber will not get damaged. Your textile fiber will remain healthy. Paintings on cloth, like textiles, keep them flat. And one trick with cloth paintings as well as paintings on canvas, acrylics, when you want to roll them for transport, first keep them face down. That means the painted side should be down. Put a piece of cloth over it, cotton sheet or malmal. Put a tube, not a thin tube, but a nice thick one, 4 inches, 6 inches tube, and roll the painting so that the face of that comes outwards. And then you roll it. This way, the paint layers do not get crushed. Common tendency is to take the painting and put the face inside and roll it like this. No, it should be rolled outwards. When it comes to prints and drawings and works on paper, like miniature paintings or watercolors, for that and also for canvas paintings, do not keep them under air conditioner vents, because that is where the cockling will happen and the paint layers get damaged. And do not stick them with the glass, because then they get stuck and the paint layer gets stuck on them. Place soft paper between them, between different ones if you're stacking them, and put them in a box. Boxing art objects is the single most solution to problems in tropical countries, problems of dust, problems of pollution. You'll be surprised that you enhance the life of objects for hundreds of years if you store them boxed when you're not seeing them or when you're not putting them on display. Acrylic and oil paintings, other than not putting them under air conditioners, one trick that will save the painting, especially in places where there's a lot of fungus like Calcutta and Bombay, brush them gently once a month with a soft brush. And if you're using a vacuum cleaner to remove the dust, make sure the vacuum cleaner is not too close to the object, and you put a small net on the nozzle of the vacuum cleaner, just so that in case some other things do not go inside, right? Enjoy your artworks, enjoy watching them, appreciating them. And when you get time at eventide, when the sun has gone down, when the lights are low in the house, take a torch or your mobile phone and put the light slanting across your work of art, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or a textile, and see how much of the topography of the surface is revealed. You will see, hopefully not flaking of the paint. You will see, but various, you'll see the texture which the artist has used. You'll see some little spots of certain things which you may not have seen earlier. And you will enjoy your artwork in a different light, literally, so to speak. And do tell your framer to frame your works correctly. 80% of the works that are damaged in India are because of our extremely low standards of mounting and framing. But that's another story. For that, we'll meet in part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of this series of talks. This is the first one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anupam. He's here, right? I saw him, yes. Anupam?
Hi, Jigna, I'm here. I'm just sitting down now.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for sharing that talk of yours. I think there are homeowners here who are always struggling with the objects that they have, and I think I'm sure that was, I could see a broad smile on Alpita's face when there was a tip that you were giving, that I'm sure she got stuff from there that she'll kind of use it for her personal collection. So thank you so much for this. If there's anything you want to add to this or anything else you want to say, I'll give you 5 minutes, and meanwhile, if anybody else has any questions, we can take some questions here. Over to you, Anu.
Yeah. So that was hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks. I was listening to my own talk. I think I was in someone's office, and it was very sort of austere environment. And I was that way. But wonderful to have all of you here, and feel free to ask any questions. Or I understand you have collections. There are things you want to look after. There are things you want to take care of. Um, the thing is that when we look after things, the first question is, why do we need to look after things? So I think it's about the significance of the object. So as soon as that significance is established in our minds, चाहे वो हमारे बुजुर्गों का कुछ चिट्ठी हो या हमारे grandmothers have passed down some wedding fabric or textile to us. So all of us see a certain significance in objects, and that is the prime reason why we then make that effort to even come to even listen to a talk about how we can look after our things. And that's the defining, I think, factor that determines our actions and our intentions. And I'll be very happy to share thoughts on how you want to look after things that have significance for you personally, and then in the larger interest of the nation.
Hi, Anupam. That was a really great. Just want to say, obviously, for me, a lot of it is very real because I discovered so many different types of artifacts, right? So all the tips you had were pretty amazing. And I think one of the biggest ones for me was like the paper and how you say you got to brush it off. Just from experience, what I found was, wads of letters and documents that have been sitting in a suitcase, picking up dust over, I don't think it was open for at least 60 years. And surprisingly, a lot of the text and I think the inks and the paper they used in the old days is still pretty good quality. So everything was pretty much intact. There were edges of a fold, so it was all filed in this paper folder, but the edge was literally eaten by rats, and that got it at some point. So the kind of conditions I found these. But what I remember is every time I open these documents, I always feel like a little itchy, and I took it to a conservation person to look at it, and of course they said you got to brush every single paper because eventually you get little microbes that sort of roam these papers or whatever it is. But it's the when you say vacuuming and using a brush and all these and how it preserves the paper, I think I've seen that now and done it in person, but it's a very helpful tip for a lot of the people who have these old homes and have not even explored or opened boxes that they may find when they go to these neglected homes. So thank you.
No.
It's a very
You're most welcome, and I'm glad you mentioned this because I like that thing that you said, particularly about that these inks are still so beautiful and strong, and they stood the test of time, so to speak. And that's also because people who created works of art, of architecture, these people knew their materials. They knew how to create the medium with which they would make something, how they would create the inks. So they all made their own materials themselves. And when a person knows one's materials, those works last always much, much longer. And it's true for every person who's done manual work. And today, when we have people creating even art, where they don't know the material because they just bought them from here and there, and their artworks degrade so fast. Contemporary art deteriorates so rapidly, it is not funny. Yeah, because a lot of money goes into it. It's like buying a car, not knowing that the guy who's put that steel together, anything, has no idea what it's made of. And we have passed it off. I think it's irresponsible on our part. We have passed it off as creativity. even in art colleges, you say, no, don't bind the children, don't give them the structure. How can you create art without having a structure first? I think that discipline, it's time we realize that, good old discipline is important in any field, I think, and then you can be as creative as you want. So that's great. And the paper also that you talked about, old paper lasts so very long, contemporary compared to modern paper, because the old paper is made up of very cellulose-rich cotton fibers, whereas the modern material is made of bamboo and all, which there is inherent degradation built into the material. And therefore, अगर आप लोग एक परंपरा है जैसे ग्रंथागार वगैरह होते हैं, तो उसमें ये लोग क्या करते हैं कि पुरानी पांडुलिपियों को उनको फिर से लिखते हैं, एक सेवा भाव के रूप से भी करते हैं और वैसे भी. तो लेकिन अगर ये आजकल के आधुनिक कागज में अगर ये काम करेंगे, then what happens is that paper disappears so quickly. In 30 years, it starts degrading away. So I think this old paper that you mentioned that was in the box and things like that, I think it reflects that aspect of good old stuff, so to speak. Yeah. But thank you for starting off with that.
My pleasure. No, really, I think you add, the things you say are very practical and are going to be useful for a lot of people who join or listen to the talks today.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Folks, you want to switch on your videos so I can also see you?
Yeah, I was also just going to say that.
Yeah, because they're watching me.
I also, you also spoke about wooden members in architecture, and you spoke about that why they shouldn't be painted. And there's this discussion that we have which of course you would also come across, and we come across in the architectural discourse, that if you really look at the older houses, many of them, the wood used to be painted, but in the process of conservation, the painting is removed. And one of the critique to that is that we like to see, it's a modern idea to see bare wood.
Yes.
And it's, traditionally it was always painted, but to see bare wood is a modern idea.
Yes.
I think the perspective that you're bringing, that it's not just about the bare wood modernity of it, but for wood to live longer, it will have to breathe. And it will have to, so I think that was a very interestingly put perspective, especially because that's a discussion that we have with our students, that why are we not painting it? It was originally painted. So I think that's a very interesting.
No, but that's what you're saying is so relevant also, because every statement we make or something, it has so many facets or pehlu, So if wood is dry and it's painted, it's okay if it's in a stable environment. But we must also remember that sometimes when wooden members, architectural members are there, let's say against a wall, we paint only the upper surfaces.
Yes.
And then पीछे वाला surface, चाहे वो घर के अलमारी की plywood भी क्यों ना हो, हम लोग एक side से paint करते हैं. So the other side starts breathing where this one does not, and everything starts warping. And everything goes out of sync, and that almiras don't close, the doors don't close. That also happens.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Anyone else has any other?
Yes, Taral wanted to ask a question, and so did Revati.
Okay. Taral, please go ahead.
No, I didn't wanted to. I'm sorry.
Do
I raised my hand.
Do it. No.
I was wondering. Thank you. I was wondering, like, in museums, if they display the textile, let's say the paintings or the Patachitra or something like that, then what care should be taken, or what could be the appropriate display method? Because sometimes it's like, if you see it flat, then you may not be able to view it perfectly. And for some like big textiles, you need to look at in a certain angle or something. So if you can.
So why did you think of Patchitra? All the way Odisha?
So I have been working as a researcher and interpretation planner for museums and cultural spaces. So I'm dealing with a lot of like artifacts and objects, and just the question pop up. Or
Okay.
even Jains have this manuscript, the scrolls, which are like really long ones.
Okay, so you're looking at oversized flat
Oversight.
things like scrolls and
Yes.
Patchitra,
Yeah.
right? So you want to know how to what?
How to display them, or a particular method to preserve them?
How to display them or how to preserve them. Now, for anything, when you want to address anything in life, you have to know its material, its technology, how it was created. So you know that your Patchitras is 2-3 layers of cloth which have been pasted together with tamarind seed gum. Okay, tamarind का जो इमली के जो seeds होते हैं उसको ऐसे paste बनता है और उसके ऊपर उन्होंने पीछे से there's calcium carbonate layers on both sides, right? And then they burnish.
Okay.
Okay. So now it is like a little hardish sort of surface, but it is flexible enough to be rolled. Okay. And the Patchitra is painted right till the edge. So that means if you want to display it, you will have to put what is called a strip lining. A strip lining. That means so that you can, like a painting can stretch over a stretcher, you can pull the painting over a stretcher. Similarly, you should put strips of cloth on the edges of the Patchitra, okay, so that you have a little bit of extra cloth which you can turn around the stretcher and do it gently, and then you display it. That's the way these things should be displayed, the bigger one.
Okay.
Otherwise you'll hide the, because उसके border इतने होते हैं, 1.5 inch के border होते हैं, वो भी छुप जाते हैं फिर frame के उससे debates. So that is the way you ought to do that. And for large scrolls, I think you should just keep them rolled and expose only a certain section of it. And every 1 month, you can turn it around a little bit so that the next section gets exposed to the light. So eventually, suppose that big scroll takes 1 year to completely expose slowly, there is an equal degradation due to light. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Keep it on a roll. Yeah. Keep it exposed slowly.
That was really helpful to know. And is it ideal to present them as a flat or as an inclined angle or something? Not
an inclined angle.
Not
anything resting on an inclined angle is always better. Just like your chairs. When the back of the chair is a little inclined, like this hedge behind me. Yeah. Actually, I'm flying off abroad just now. So I just landed at the airport and I told my driver, "Lagao mera saman." Tab main bol raha tha usse. Jignasi ki abhi let me sit down. So when you lean back, there's a little reclining this thing. So load gets transferred onto. So the stress on the material is much less. It's important to have these reclining support.
Oh, okay.
Good, the girl who was not
really helpful to know. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry I couldn't
Thank you. Anybody
turn
else?
on my video.
Anybody
I'm also commuting.
No, that's okay. But Jigna will. It's a lady's prerogative.
Thank you much.
Yes.
Yeah. Revati, you wanted to ask something? Revati, are you there? Okay, anybody else?
Hello, Anupam sir. This is Mridula. I don't know if you can see me. I actually just wanted to request. Hello.
Yes.
Hi, no, I just wanted to request you to actually share some of the initiatives that have been taken by you and the organizations that you are associated with regarding painted surfaces and especially any new research related to the polychrome wood. So if you would like to share something from those initiatives.
Related to?
related to the painted surfaces, because
Painted
I think in
surfaces.
last 1.5 year, you have started many initiatives, and especially research-based initiatives. So, wondering if you would like to share any of your
Okay, now that you asked, thank you, Mridula, for asking that. Well, the one thing that we are looking forward now to is we've started a program with Harvard University called Heritage Conservation Science. So this was addressed to all institutions which want to develop facilities for getting a bit of science into their understanding of art history. So it involves analyzing materials. It involves understanding how these things are made, doing analysis using various instruments like XRF, FTIR, Raman's meters, or just simple microscopy, making cross sections, and then using that information to inform art history. So to create a field which is called technical art history. So this was an open invitation to many, many institutions in India, and a lot of institutions are participating in it. And they are getting tips from everything on how to set up very, very basic conservation labs, not conservation labs. It's not conservation. It's about setting up very, very basic labs on analyzing art objects, on analyzing different types of materials. So we have begun with the program for 7 months. The module is for analyzing painted surfaces. So these painted surfaces can be on paper, they can be on stone, they can be on wood, they can be on textiles, they can be on oil paintings, manuscripts, miniature paintings, things like that. So I don't know, from CEPT, somebody's applied, no? Who's studying, who's participating in this time? Somebody from a research unit or something. I don't know who we have.
This time we could not. Last year, me, Nigar, we
but last time was a general one, The idea was to. But
No,
this is very good. It's fantastic. The trainers from Harvard and all. I mean, we've got the best in the world teaching so simply how to set up a technical analysis. You can still send somebody if you want. A young science person who you could then groom into your place, and it's so subsidized. There's no cost. It's only $10,000. You can still send somebody. I'll have give them special recorded lectures. I'll give them to you so you can make sure that they're not then publicized. But it's only 4 lectures have gone. But now the practical microscopy will start. So these people will be assets to institutions like yours. So they will know the basic, and nobody in India is teaching these very basics. It's all been left to big scientists. Anybody can do.
Yes, definitely, and especially
anybody
access to sites like Dharmaj, it can actually develop into very good.
Fantastic. That could be you could be a partner with Harvard University. All it needs is you agree to do some analysis at your place as a practical side.
Sure. Thanks.
Right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Any 2-3 questions?
Is there
any comments? Yeah.
Okay, I think there is. We don't have any comments or questions anymore, but I think I'll conclude with a big thank you to accommodate our time in your very busy schedule. I know Ashna told me that you were traveling.
Not at all.
So, and we will
I've timed it enough to.
We will keep on asking for a bit of your time for your.
Oh, please! I love this. There's always There's always time. See, at 7:30 I'll go into the episode, so I still have half an hour too. There's always time for everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you. No, we'll definitely.
Thank you very much.
We will also try to fix a fixed way so that you can also visit to Dharmaj, because some of the sites, some of the places that are there, they're beautiful. There's a lot that we can learn from you when you're there. So I think
it'll be wonderful mutually. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jigna. Thank you, Mridula. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And Ashna, really big thank you to you for putting all this together. I know you've been working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks, Ashna. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. And I was wondering, oh, your name is here on the left, right? Ashna Patel. When the recording was going on, there was you on the screen. I was saying, wow, who's this lady looking at my hearing this talk? Excellent.
Thank you. I think
Chalo.
I just have one more comment. It's a very something that you mentioned. You know, that you said that we always leave art conservation and things to the technical, people with technical knowledge and scientists and all. But I think what the tips that you gave today were very practical and very logical at the same time. So it was very easy to understand. So it's not very, one doesn't feel very intimidated by these things anymore, if they are present forth in this way. So thank you so much.
That's true. Like everything in life, I think once the novelty wears off, it becomes easy. I mean, imagine trying to switch on a fax machine. It's so complicated initially,
Yeah.
Or the first time you did WhatsApp or Facebook,
Yeah.
But once it happens, the novelty is gone. And that's the idea about exposure to sports, exposure to activities. You'd have to do it once. You don't do it to become world-class athlete. But tomorrow when there's something happening, you can hold your own. You know what it's about. It's about getting that exposure, whether it's architecture. It's about being able to do it. Kabhi, I'm not saying कि आप मिस्त्री बन के बस केवल चिनाई करते रहो. लेकिन एक बार आपने मसाला बनाया तसले में और ये करा वो क्या उठा के आधा दिन काम किया, you get the feel of it. Tomorrow you can talk to the mystery with a little more confidence, or जब तुम्हारे घर में भी काम हो रहा है, you can engage with the person a little better, whether it's a painter or a carpenter. You got to do these hand things. I mean, institutions have to give time to people to use their hands and roll up their sleeves. They must, but for that they'll have to leave the mobile in a pocket or something.
Yeah, and we hope that our initiatives of Site School and all are able to do that. That's the idea.
Sure.
Even the students go on site and work with the buildings.
Yes, I think that's...
Sit in the classrooms and try to...
Yeah.
Because ideas are very important, but I think working with the buildings, working with materials is when the ideas get materialized.
Yeah. I love to work with my hands, Rigna. I've always been a field worker more, So if anything I can do to chip in with you guys, because if you're doing all this stuff, just let me know. I'm happy to come.
I think we'll invite you here.
Excellent. Chalo. Bye. Bye, everybody. Take care. Thank you once again. Bye. There is something on chat. What's there on chat? Okay, thank you. Just in case, like I'm so desperate. It's a question answer. Okay, bye.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
For attending this. Thanks. Pirag, I think we will close now. Thanks, everyone, for being here again. And keep a lookout on stuff that we do. We'll keep on posting things that we plan and do. And Ashna, yes, thank you. Last thank you has to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for the session. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.